Welcome to our 2025 vision webinar, just creating your blueprint for the next year. I have hosted a very similar call to this every year for the last, I don't know, 5, 6 years. It's been a while. It's been a while. And it's become one of my absolute favorite things to do. And I will tell you that I am somebody years ago that would say, vision is like not really a thing. It's kind of a woo-woo thing, or New Year's, is this like a New Year's resolution thing? And every year that I do this, and every time that I put into practice the things that I have created or planned for, it is directly attributed to starting with something like this and being really clear on what I want and what I'm getting after. And what is today? It's Thursday, January 2nd, and I feel like in this weird time before everybody really gets back to work, Christmas has passed and you're kind of in this weird limbo. This is actually my favorite time to plan. And when did we get back? A few days ago. A few days ago, my husband and I went out of town for a few days. I was feeling very foggy about what I wanted. I was feeling, as the days were leading up towards Christmas, really overwhelmed with a lot of things on my plate. I'm sure you can relate. And as Christmas passed, it was like, okay, that's over. And I'm sad that it's over. And I'm relieved that it's over in the same breath. And I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing with my life, like literally. Um, so my hope is that you're here on this call because, like me, you're somebody that wants 2025 to be awesome. You maybe want it to be better than last year. Maybe you want it to be your best year ever. Maybe you want to use this year to launch you into a series of the next 5 best years of your life. Or maybe you are just like, I just want something to change. Whatever happened last year, it's not my jam and I don't want to repeat it, right? Whatever your reason is, having a plan and being able to put that plan into action is what the whole point of creating a vision is, creating a vision board. Like this, real cute, but it came on the tail end of hours of me. I mean, we're literally hours after we finished hiking and we sat down and we're asking ourselves a lot of questions about what we wanted, what I wanted with my business, with life, with income, with my children's relationships, with my relationship with my husband. It's it was getting so clear on what I wanted that it made making the vision board really, really easy, right? So let me make sure I am, just because I'm recording this, I want to make sure this is pinned. Okay. I know a lot of you guys are watching this back, and I'm gonna probably have a couple people that are gonna pop in live. So just want to make sure, as you're like, what are you doing and what are you talking about? So the point of the vision board is to have a visual representation of exactly what you want. And there's science behind it. I will be the first one to tell you that I absolutely thought it was super woo-woo thing that like, okay, like create your vision board. That's really cute, but it's not cute so much as there's science that backs it, the reticular activation system in your brain, that you are kicking into gear every time you look at an image that is attached emotionally to something that you have, that you want, that you're working towards, right? Like it evokes an emotion in you. And hopefully it's going to evoke the emotion in you that gets you to show up in the ways that allow you to get the things that you want that you've put on this board, right? It's it's similar to like visualization exercises that Olympic athletes do, right? That they visualize themselves going through the actions that they're going to take on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a multi-year basis before they get to their big event, the thing that they've been training on for what feels like forever. And it's not just visualizing the win, the success, the standing on the podium. It's envisioning the work and the challenges and the things that are going to derail you, the things that maybe the past you would say, this is enough, thank you, I'm gonna move on. It's visualizing the hard so that you can visualize how you're gonna work around it, right? And pre-deciding how you're gonna show up, no matter what your circumstances are, that you are in a little more control than maybe you may have previously thought. So, this vision board that I have created is based on long conversations, a lot of reflection, and I want to share with you tonight a lot of the reflection, the questions, the prompts that I went through, like really specific prompts that I went through to figure out what I'm doing with my life, like what I want to happen this year, but also how this year is going to set me up for next year and the next decade, right? It's a really mapped out plan. And so maybe if you're watching this back, you have access to the workbook that should have come in an email. If you're in a group watching this, maybe you're watching this months and months later. This exercise that we are going to do is something I do quarterly. I don't just do this once a year. I do it once a quarter and I do miniature versions of this truly every week, like mini check-ins with myself and figure out like where am I at? What am I doing? How am I going? But this is something that sets me up for the year. I want to create a baseline, right? So before you create your baseline and before you really start figuring out what are your goals for this next year, I want you to get really clear on where you're at right now. Why do you want something to change? What made you go, yep, I need to watch this? Something doesn't feel good. What is it? Are you exhausted? Are you are you wanting your bank account to change? If another prompt that I like asking that's on this workbook is what anxious thoughts keep you up at night? Is it stress about money, stress about health, about relationships that you have or that you want to have? What is really coming at you, your brain that's bothering you, that's distracting you, that that you want to be different? And maybe another question to ask yourself is this the first time it stressed you out, or is it a continual thing? Has this always stressed you out? Were you sitting here last year stressed about the exact same thing, about wanting to lose the weight or wanting to earn the income or wanting to get the job or start the business or finish the project or whatever it was? Is this a consistent thing that keeps coming up? Because if it is, this is your opportunity to make it different, to make this year feel different than the end of last year, right? And it takes you getting really clear on where you're at and what's holding you back, what's stopping you, what's bothering you, what's distracting you, what's coming at you that you don't want to be coming at you. Getting really clear on where you're at and being brutally honest with yourself, right? This is like a no excuses plan. This isn't like a, oh, well, I would have, but no, being really, really clear, right? So, one of the first questions I asked myself as I was making a really big change was, am I doing it for the plot twist or am I doing it because I really need to sit down and focus? And honestly, last year, I will say I did it for the plot twist. But not even last year, probably a few months previously, I opened up a new boutique. I wanted something different and new and exciting, and I just needed a change. This year I'm closing it. I'm closing it. Because it doesn't align with where I'm going, right? But it's something worth asking yourself of like, are you wanting something to change because you're just sick of what's happening? Or are you like, no, 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 I need to have more money in my bank account. That's what I hear that from my husband every day. What's our retirement plan, right? Like, what's happening? The other thing I would ask you as we kind of go through this list is really paying attention to what brought you joy. And I mean that as authentically as I can. And what brings you joy might be something small, like early mornings sitting on my sofa, drinking my coffee and journaling before the rest of the house gets up, and me just like doing my own thing and feeling good about it. Going to Disney World also brings me a lot of joy, and I want to go back and I have it on my vision board again. I freaking love Disney World. Who knew? I love it. I love it. I've become a Disney adult. I want more of that, right? Is it friendships? Is it a good conversation that you had? Did you go on a good trip? Is it you like feeling rested, right? Like what feels good in your life? What areas of your life do you need to be kinder to yourself in? Are you really hard on yourself about when you miss a workout? Even if you're sick, your kid's sick, and you overslept or whatever, this is different than a no excuses thing. It's like you can be brutally honest with yourself and say, like, no, actually, like you can't live on 4 hours of sleep every night forever, right? Like something needs to change. Are you really hard on yourself when you don't get a promotion or when you have tried to lose the weight and you are like going to the gym and you're doing all of the things and then you get on the scale and you're like, what is happening? Like, why is this not working? What do you say to yourself when things don't go your way? What thoughts pop up? And it's really important to pay attention to those thoughts for the same reason that's important to pay attention to a vision board. It's the reticular activation system in your brain. And when you are saying things to yourself that aren't helpful, it certainly doesn't move you forward in the direction that you want. Right. And we'll talk a little bit more about that mindset piece in a little bit. I want to share something with you that I go through on a regular basis. Most days that I journal, actually, even if you're not a journaler, it will help you. What are things that you're proud of yourself for this year? Did you accomplish something? Did you rest more? Did you make a decision on something? Really ask yourself, what is something I'm proud of? And there has to be a few things that you can list out. Maybe it was a really good conversation you had with your son. Maybe it was you getting up and working out consistently more than you ever have before, right? It can be any and all things. But really paying attention to what's working and what feels good is important to hold on to. What is something that you have a habit of that you want to do less of? Snoozing used to be a thing for me. I don't snooze anymore. I haven't snoozed in like literally years. I was terrible at snoozing. Terrible habit that I had. Another habit that I catch myself getting into as the months get colder is I wake up and I like journaling and reading, but I'll sit on my sofa for like an hour and push my workout back. It's a terrible, terrible habit. And I kick myself out of it by it's just like literally sitting on the floor to do my morning reading so that I'm not comfortable, so that it makes me work out, right? Is there a habit that's not helping you? Is it staying up too late? Or is it like gossiping the first time thing that comes to your mind when you're like, you see your friend and you just start complaining? Like, what is it, right? On the flip side, what are your top three qualities? I got prompted in my devotional this week to list out my 21 things I liked about myself. And it was really, really hard. It was really hard. I knocked out five real quick. And then my next five were a little more challenging. And my last 11, it took me like 20 minutes, honestly. Um, And if I were to ask my husband, or if I were to ask my children, name some things that you think I do great at, or name some things that I should be proud of myself for, they could probably just list them off. And so if you are struggling with that, because I had to like put myself in the perspective of my husband, like what does my husband appreciate about me? What do my children appreciate about me? That maybe you just dismiss because it's just who you are and you like doing it. Um, what are your top three qualities? And what evidence do you have that you can support anytime that you want to go after something? What evidence do you have that you'll get what you want? And the reason I ask that is because I swear every year that goes by, it feels like that's going to be too hard. I'm too old. I'm too this. I'm not enough of that. I can't X, Y, and Z, right? Or maybe you've tried something in the past and for some reason it's just like you've written yourself off because it didn't work out last time that it's not going to work out this time. And that could be going for a promotion to losing weight to like being a single person and trying to like find the love of your life and you just don't put yourself out there because last time it didn't work out. But it's really hard to find the love of your life if you're not like going out and meeting people, right? So, what evidence do you have to support that you can make it happen? And maybe it was like making the soccer team in high school, or maybe it was getting the last job that you got hired for, like somebody hired you then, right? Maybe it was something, right? Like there's something that's happened in your past that you can, it could be as simple as today I committed to a workout and I followed through. Like that is something. So that if you, I say that because I have so many people that I've talked to these last couple of days in my one-on-ones with my in my Radiant Reset mentorship. And I do one-on-one calls with these women, and it came up time and time and time again of women not wanting to share what their specific weight loss goal was. It happened on every call that I had. And it's interesting because I think we all have this fear of like, but what if I say it out loud and then it doesn't happen? We don't want to disappoint ourselves. We don't want to feel guilt or shame, or like, we also don't want to have like witness that somebody else knows that I want this thing, right? And so we talk ourselves out of doing it. Whereas you could instead pay attention to the ways that you have done it before and remind yourself, like, well, we've done these things before, so I could do it again. Life has changed. I'm different. Schedules are different. I'm a decade older. Whatever, doesn't matter. You have to remind yourself of what you're capable of on the regular for the moments that you're doubting yourself, right? Because they come up. Doubt comes up a lot for women especially, right? Like I don't know if it's I'm I'm God, I turned 39 this year. I don't know if it's my age. I don't know if it's my gender. I don't whatever. I feel a lot of self-doubt and I don't want to live in that space, right? And neither do you. But it's good to pay attention to where they're coming up. Um, Speaking of, what are two disappointments that you had from this year? Maybe it was not getting the job or not losing the weight or not going on the trip you always wanted. But it's important to pay attention to the things that you didn't get that you really want because there's usually some kind of data around whatever that thing was that can help you figure it out next time. And that leads into what are some limiting beliefs that you have about yourself? And those will pop up real quick when you say out loud, I want this, right? Like, I want to earn $1 million. And my brain just will spit out 30 reasons why that's not going to happen, right? Is that a limiting belief? That's probably pretty accurate for this year, you know? But it might not be for the next 5 years. I don't know. What's possible? But really paying attention to the thoughts that you have when you set a goal and you say it out loud and what thoughts are popping up in your brain when you say, I want to lose 10 pounds by the end of March. And limiting beliefs might sound like, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I have time. Last time it was really hard. You're just not the person that will do this. This isn't designed for you. You aren't somebody who can fill in the blank. It's like just a bunch of crap, really, right? And we'll talk about that. And the fastest way, I think, for your workaround is to ask yourself, what evidence do you have that the opposite is true, right? Whether it's income or weight loss or a job or anything, right? I use weight loss as an example a lot because I work with a lot of women in the health and fitness space. But thinking about um, people who say like, I just don't know, or I swear people don't start. The more times they have tried, the less likely they are to be like excited to start the thing, excited to start the new workout program that's going to help them feel better and lose the weight and keep it off and stay consistent and to have more energy and do all of the things because they're paying attention to the last time it didn't work instead of paying attention to the last time it did, right? At some point, we are going to miss a day. We're going to miss a workout. We're going to fall off track. But if we stick to paying attention to only the time that it didn't work out, we're never going to remind ourselves that we figured it out before and that we can do it again. So it's really important to pay attention to what's working. And honestly, that's a really simple thing to do if you are a journaler. It's one of my favorite things of like, I just don't know if I can figure this out, or it's I don't want to say it's easy to me, but I have a lot of projects coming up for this year. I want to launch a women's retreat in October. I have a 1 day retreat that I'm planning in April. I want like a huge 3 day retreat. I'm doing it in October. And I have a million reasons that pop up in my brain of why I don't think I could do that. I've never done it before. I've never actually hosted 20 people on a retreat. I've only hosted 10. Like, what if it's a lot different? I don't have a location yet. I don't know how much I should charge just yet. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But what evidence I have that the opposite is true is I really love working with women. I really love coaching women. I really am good at one-on-one coaching and helping women work through mindset and roadblocks and all of that. Like, right? I can ask myself, but in what ways could it work? And when I start listing those things off, it gets me a lot more excited. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit too. When we're talking about the mindset model. And if you have the workbook, this will make a lot more sense. If you don't have a workbook, you have a notebook. Um, hopefully you have a notebook. If you don't, pause this and run and grab one because this will make more sense. I want you to write a list just so you can kind of understand how the mindset model works and how our brains work and how we come up with the reasons that this will work or the reasons that it won't, and really paying attention to those things because that's what will make the difference in you making or breaking your goals. Every goal, literally every goal that you have ever in life, whether it's running your first mile, whether it's getting your first workout, whether it's losing 30 pounds, whether it's making $1 million, understanding how your brain works and how you can maximize it and use it to your advantage versus allow it to take you out of what you're trying to do and what you say out loud that you want, use it to your advantage. So write out in a list on different lines, circumstances, thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. And I actually have these side by side with the exact same thing. Specifically for when I journal, I have like one sheets that if I don't have them printed out, I'll like write them out in my journal. Because we usually have an unintentional model that's going on in our brain, and we want to be a little bit more in control of what we're taking action on and what we're doing. And here's the example that I want to give to you. So let's say the circumstance is that you have been working out for 2 weeks and you've been crushing it. You've been following your nutrition plan. You're feeling really good. You get on the scale, and the scale says that you have gained 2 pounds. And I don't know about you, but the thoughts in my brain when I've been working my ass off and I have been doing all the things, and I was expecting a different result. And then it's not what I want. My thoughts are, this isn't working. I've wasted my time. Why am I doing? It's like nothing good. Nothing good comes out of it, which is usually prompting feelings of guilt or shame, frustration, anger. Again, nothing good. But when I feel any of those things in regards to what I'm doing with my health and fitness, the action that I take based on how I'm feeling is going to be a lot different than if I was feeling excited and joyful about what was going on, right? I'm not really motivated to get to the gym when I've been working my butt off and then I gain 2 pounds, right? So the result that you get is you end up falling off track. You end up staying inconsistent, talking yourself out of it, right? You can have the exact same circumstances and your thoughts could be totally different. And I want to use that find evidence that the opposite is true because when your circumstances, and I know I'm using the weight loss thing because we're there, but I'll use another one too, is I gained 2 pounds and your immediate thought is this isn't working. I'm wasting my time. What evidence do you have that the opposite is true, that it's not working, right? What evidence do you have that it is working? Maybe you're getting up at the same time every day and you are actually feeling pretty good. Maybe you feel more rested, you have more energy. Maybe when you really look at the circumstances on a deeper level and you go back to tracking what you're doing, you can recognize, like, well, I know that I said I was doing all of the things, but like maybe I wasn't doing, maybe the circumstances in my brain are a little bit different. Maybe the thoughts that I'm having about this are inaccurate because I'm basing them on not facts, right? Which, just in regards to like weight loss or really when you're trying to make progress on anything, tracking what you're doing and having a baseline for what you're doing will be really helpful when you're trying to measure your progress because you don't talk yourself out of this isn't working, right? When you have data. So having data is really, really important. The other thing it can do for you as far as creating an intentional model is thinking about how you can show up and be the person that you want to be and feel good. And I think there's a few different ways to think about this, especially when you're thinking about like visualizing yourself getting the result that you want. And here's what I mean when I say like the intentional model. If you have a weight loss goal and you're visualizing yourself on spring break wearing your most favorite dress that just looks so good on you, that's the result, right? Like you start with the result that you want and you work backwards. So if the result that you want and you get really clear on it, right? Like you know exactly what dress you're going to have. Maybe the result that you want is being able to afford your dream home. And the result that you're seeking is walking in with your family there and you're cooking dinner and it's just like the most perfect whatever it is that you have envisioned, that's the result that you want. Getting really clear on what that moment is will help you remind yourself what you have to do to get there because then you're going to ask, okay, if I fit into that dress, what was I doing to make that happen? It's probably working out. How many days a week was I working out? Probably 4 or 5. I don't know. We'll figure it out. What was I eating? What was I what was I doing throughout the rest of the day? Was I sitting on the sofa in the evening? Was I doing more stretching? Was I like listening to podcasts more than I was watching Netflix? Like what specific actions were you taking? And how was I feeling when I was doing those things, right? Like was I feeling excited? You probably felt really proud of yourself at the end of that, right? And really paying attention to that of like, how are you feeling at the end? How are you also feeling in process? Determined, excited about what the results that you were going to have. The thoughts that you were having probably weren't, this isn't working. They were probably like, I will figure this out. I will make this happen. What else could I be doing? How do I want to feel when I'm walking on the beach, right? Like those are the thoughts, and the circumstances aren't any different. They're right where you are right now. If today is your day one circumstance, what are you going to do between now and that moment that you want to have? You get to create that. But it really starts with what you're thinking about and how you're thinking about it. And, I don't know if you've heard this as we're kind of scroll through of like, it's less about thinking about what you have to do, the how. It's thinking about who do you need to become to step into the version of you that's going to make it happen. What is that version of you? Because she's different, right? She's the version of you that made it happen, that hit the goal, that lost the weight or earned the income or bought the house or got the relationship or got the promotion or whatever. What is she doing every day to get to where she is? That's how you figure that out, right? Another exercise I like going to, and I'll kind of shift back into this, is writing a letter to yourself. And there's a few different prompts that I give you in here, so I won't like sit here and be like, we're going to set a timer for 5 minutes while we write a letter to yourself. You can come back to this or hit pause. Um, but there's 3 prompts: writing a letter to your younger self, writing a letter to your current self, and writing a letter to your future self. Now, I have one of these that I find to be the most challenging, and I have one that I find myself to be the most compassionate, and I find myself being more excited. I'll let you decide what you think those are or what they are for you. I think they're different for everyone. But a letter to your younger self might be something like, you're not going to believe what happened, right? Like it might help you appreciate how far you've come. And a letter to your current self might just help you be more aware of where you are and what you have and what you can be grateful for in this moment and what you're building towards as you write a letter to your future self. Actually, writing to my future self is probably my favorite thing because at the end of the year, I will open it up and like go through and see what what changed, how I feel. My feelings have changed a lot, to be honest. My place in my world and where I am did not change how I wanted it to, which is why I've made a lot of changes. I opened it in November, actually, but it's something to think about. And it sounds cheesy. It's not actually that cheesy. And actually, the year goes by real fast. A letter to my younger self is one of my favorites. And I find that it gives me a lot of appreciation for where I am. Something to think about. So, as you're thinking about your future self, sounds cheesy when I say it, but it's not because it gives you an action plan. This is what gives you the blueprint. This right here is getting really clear on where you're going and what you're building towards and who you are becoming for that thing that you want. I have in the prompt in this workbook is reminding you to dig really deep and asking yourself exactly what you really want and giving yourself permission to dream like annoyingly big. Like if money were no object, if time were no object, what what does your day look like? And something I like thinking about just to kind of like kick you off is where are you waking up? What kind of bed do you have? What does your comforter feel like? Where are you drinking your coffee? What are you looking out your window at? What kind of coffee do you have? Where are you buying local coffee? You're buying beans? Is it ground? Is it a espresso that somebody is just like passing over to you on room service? Right? Like get really clear. And who are you with? And what are you doing? And what is your friend group like? I've been thinking a lot about my friend group lately. A lot about relationships I want to build. Who do I want to surround myself with? Who will be in your circle? I would challenge you to put somebody really aspiring in your circle, right? Somebody that will help you and push you. But it's definitely not the time to hold back, right? This is like in the best dream world that you have created. This is your life. What are you doing every day? What kind of car are you driving? What kind of relationship do you have with your husband? What kind of relationship do you have with your kids? Are you available to go pick the kids up from school when they get sick, or are you on call? Are you rested and feel really good because you just like take off tomorrow and go on vacation because you could? Like, what is important to you? I could tell you um, something that I have on mine that's really specific. It's like represents this guy right here. Um, I would like to literally escape the world and go live in an A-frame cabin, for real. Um, an A-frame cabin that could also fit a washing machine. So maybe like a bigger A-frame cabin, right? But I want to like have a compound where I have an A-frame cabin and room for like all of our family to come in for big dinners and events. And I also want on this property to have like multiple other smaller A-frame cabins that our family can come so that as our children grow, they can bring their kids there and they have their own thing happening where we can all come together to our house and have dinner and it's awesome. And then they can like go do their own thing the rest of the evening or in the morning or whatever, right? Like I want a compound. I also want to use this space for retreats to host women for the weekend to do like goat yoga and meditations and like group coaching. Like I have a really clear vision on what I want this space to look like. My timeline on it is shorter than will probably be, right? But I say the timeline is short. The timeline is probably longer than I want it to be because I want it like today, tomorrow, right? But I know what I have to do to get there. I know what kind of work that I'm going to do. It's actually changed me getting really clear on that has changed like what I'm doing this year, what I'm working on, what I'm building, what I want to work with my clients on, what I want to share on social media, right? What yours might not be what you want to share on social media, but it might help you think about how do you want to spend your Sunday afternoons? Is there something that you could be working on an hour a day that would help get you closer to what you want, right? And when you start breaking it out, I would break out some really specific goals from your ultimate life vision. How does that become tangible for you this year? What is a personal goal that you have this year? A professional goal, financial, physical, spiritual, and relationship. That's how I like breaking it out. Like thinking about personal goal of like I'm going to stop being an a-hole to myself, right? Or I'm going to journal every morning because I know that it clears my head. Something like that. Something specific. I see a lot of people do like my personal goal of like 12 books in 30 days or something crazy. Which is fine. But how does that personal goal help you get to where you want? Maybe it's the book thing is like it brings you joy. Maybe you need more joy in your life. But specifically, if you had a personal goal, what could it be that helps you get to where you want? Professionally, do you want to advance in a career? Do you want to start a job? Do you want to quit your job? Do you want to what? Right? Like what specifically do you want to do? It's going to feel good that you could do this year. And financially, do you want to earn more money? I'm I don't know if I've ever asked you want to earn less money, but do you have, I know like my husband and I have a specific amount of money we want to put into savings, a specific amount of money we want to invest, a specific amount that we want to earn, a specific amount that we want to set aside for family vacations, right? That's a personal goal, family vacation for me, kind of a family goal. Physical, I need to lose 7 pounds. Wrote that out this morning. Lose 7 pounds. I'm going to follow gut protocol. I'm going to get my workouts in. I'm going to walk the dog, even when it's literally 1 degree next Thursday. By the way, looked at that as I was planning my walks. It's going to be really cold. Spiritual, I am working on my own faith journey, right? Like you do you, whatever's important to you. Relationships, I have on my vision board, I actually have a photo of me and my husband and me, because that's important to me. It's a priority. I want to deepen my relationship with my husband. I have a family photo on there, twofold. One, because it's at Disney World and I want to go back. And I also want to make sure I'm spending individual time with my children. They're getting older and they're getting older really fast, and I'm really sad about it. And I just want to like lean into those relationships as much as possible. I also have build more business relationships on mine because since I have been out of the corporate world, I need to like get back into it. So like an action step for that is me getting on LinkedIn again and me updating my LinkedIn, doing coffee dates with people, hosting a podcast and having people join me, right? Like relationship building things. Um, and here's what I would do. And you can take this if you are watching this back or you're uh, you know, I'm assuming you're watching this back and you have access to the workbook I gave you. There's a sheet in there that's understanding goals. And I would take every goal that you have on there and do this worksheet separately. This is going to be time consuming. This wasn't meant for you to, this is probably, depending on how many goals you have, you'll probably take a few minutes per goal walking through this. But I want you to think about this. If your goal is to, here we go, lose weight example. My goal is to lose 7 pounds. What will this give you? Um, I know that it's probably going to give me more mental clarity and I'm not going to have sugar cravings in the afternoon. What will that give me? Um, not feeling guilty, that's for sure, right? Not feeling guilty. What will that give you? But go back for every goal. And it's literally like, and then what? What will this do for you? What would, if you have a goal of getting a new job, what would that goal give you? my goal, I want to launch this business or I want to apply and get this specific role at my company? Would it give you social standing within your work? Would it give you the experience that you need? Would it give you more income? What would that income provide you and your family? If you could have a pay down debt or pay off credit card. If you could pay off the credit card, maybe that gives you money to go travel on vacation. If you go travel on vacation, maybe that gives you better, deeper relationships with your family, right? Like, see how your goals all work together. And you do that by like laying them all out and getting really specific with, but why? What does this give you specifically? Why do you want to lose the 7 pounds? Is it just to like feel better in the dress? Because honestly, the vain part of me is like, yeah, I would like to feel better in the dress. Okay. No shame in that. But also, I know that that's just like a visual representation of me not treating my body really well. And like, ooh, I do really want to be like moving around and hiking when I'm 90. So there's all of those things. They all play into it, but really paying attention to like what's driving you. And you might discover something about yourself that you didn't know just because you're asking yourself, and why? And why? Right? And I would say of all of those things, pick the one that's the most important to you for this year. What is your absolute, your top priority? And I usually say I usually have a personal goal, a financial goal, and a business goal for me personally. You choose what your top three are, but of those three, which one is the biggest to you right now? Which one would make the biggest impact on you, your family, your life, your future, or like your 10-year goal? What you're talking about your vision. I'm talking about the A-frame cabin. Like, what is the one thing if I crushed this year, it would just put me on the path to that A-frame cabin, right? How can you work towards your goal and no matter what, be proud of how you showed up for yourself? Because we often want a really specific result, right? We want to do the work and lose the weight. We want to do the work and make the money. We want to get the interview and get the job, right? Doesn't always work out how we want it to. So, how can you prepare yourself that no matter what, be proud of how you showed up? What do you need the most help with to reach your goal? A lot of people will say things like, I don't know where to start, which I would say, Google. Ask somebody that you know. Ask people that are in that circle, right? If you don't know where to start, somebody that you know does, or Google, or ChatGPT, right? So from there, knowing you know enough about yourself and your goals and your habits and how you have shown up in the past, what has thrown you off in the past, right? Maybe that's another question, another way of asking yourself that question. Maybe it's getting in a room with somebody. If you could just get in this space, help me get in that room. If you don't know how you can ask for the raise or make the money or do like, get really specific and what you need the most help with and what could make it easier. What could make it easier for you to reach your goal? My number one thing, I write this down every year, is fewer distractions. Distractions are like the killer of all dreams. Whether it's your phone or this sounds really bad when I'm like, the kids come in and distract me. They're not the killer of my dreams, but you know what I mean? Like they take time and focus. And what is pulling you away from like actually working on this? It might be snoozing. It might be staying up too late. What is getting in the way? And if it were gone, would help you out. Maybe it's your thoughts. Maybe you're self-sabotaging. Maybe you keep telling yourself the same thing over and over and you're like spiraling and you can't get out of it. And like every once in a while you're out and you're free. And if you could just stay in that headspace forever, you would stay motivated and excited and you'd be like working on it for the rest of your life. Maybe that's what you need. You just need to like stay in that headspace that's feeling good. It's not always super simple, right? And I'd also get really, really clear on who you need to be to make it happen, right? What are things that can get in the way of you hitting that goal, of you making it happen? And how can you get ahead of them? If you know that having your kids awake when you're working out is making your workouts not go as great, you got to get up earlier, or you got to plan it later, or you got to ask your husband for help, right? And this is where that like no excuses thing comes in of like, this is the time for you to buckle down and make the plan and really be honest with yourself of what's holding you back, what's kept you stuck before, and how can you change it? And who do you know that's had a similar goal and they've hit it? And what qualities do they have that you need to develop? Who do you see that you aspire to be more like? Not because you want their life, but because you know that they've figured something out that you also want to figure out. What are those things? And what things do they have that you also have? Like ambition and drive and a want to get whatever that thing is. They've they've probably got a lot more similarities than you realize, right? At some point they weren't good at what they're doing either, right? At some point they were terrible at it. So really paying attention to what qualities they have that you also have, because you'll kind of be able to connect the dots, right? And what action are they taking regularly that you are currently not? This is a good example, and it's something that I fall off track with all the time. Back to the woo-woo stuff. When I can do a guided meditation before I sit down at my work, before I sit down at my desk, literally sit on the floor right over there and I do a 3-minute guided meditation. I am so productive, so productive. And I started doing that because I was listening to somebody on a podcast talk about doing that and saying like, man, if you just know that my trigger is I'm going to listen to my meditation, I'm going to sit down at my desk and it triggers me to like get into work mode. Oh my gosh, when I do that, I crush. Why don't I do that every day? I don't know. It's like I don't have time for 3 minutes that will make me more productive and save me time. Of course I do, right? Like that's something I have on my list of what was I currently? I was doing it. It's not even like what were they? I was doing it, right? But paying attention to what other people are doing, that makes just the smallest things usually, right? Like it could be setting your workout clothes out the night before. It could be drinking more water. It could be going to therapy. It could be working out in a group fitness class instead of working out at home, right? Like what's something that's helpful? It could be networking. What is it? Because that is what helps you get really clear on who you need to be to accomplish your goal. Because I promise you, you have what it takes. You have the tools. You have literally access to more information than anybody on the planet has ever had. You have everything that you need to figure it out. Just have to get some clarity on specifically who you need to be and how you can like shift into the person that's going to make it happen. Sometimes that takes guidance. Sometimes it takes, I run accountability groups, right? But often it just takes you getting really clear on the version of you that's going to figure it out. And some of that, back to the woo woo, some of that for me comes with affirmations. And I don't mean affirmations that are like, looking in the mirror and saying like I'm a millionaire, because I'm not a millionaire. And my brain knows that and it will literally mock me because I'm not. Right? Like you can't like pull one over on yourself and be like, I am in the best shape of my entire life when you're like, actually, no, no, babe, you're not. We should work on that a little bit, right? But you can have what's called a bridge thought that kind of bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And it again activates the reticular activation system in your brain that starts finding solutions. Like your brain wants to solve this problem for you. When you say things like, I'm in the process of losing 10 pounds, ask yourself that for real. I'm in the process of losing 10 pounds. And you might like not currently be, but maybe you are. And when you are, you'll start spitting things out in your brain of like, yes, I am. I am in the process of losing 7 pounds. I'm working out. I'm paying attention to my added sugars. I am reducing foods that cause inflammation. I'm eating 5 servings of vegetables every day. Like it starts listing off the ways that I am making it happen. So a couple of things will happen and trigger in your brain to keep you on the path that you're trying to be on, one, it reminds you that you're doing the right things. It reminds you what specific things you are doing. And it reminds you that like you're still wanting this, right? The other thing is another prompt that I like giving myself is I'm working on becoming. I'm working on X, Y, and Z. And maybe whatever your belief is that you need, maybe it's not losing weight or making the money or whatever, but you certainly know where you want to be. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this call, right? So knowing I'm in the process of, or I am becoming, or I'm in the process of becoming, I'm working on becoming, figure out what your bridge thought is. And I'm telling you, if you write out every single day, if you're a journaler, this will be awesome for you. If you aren't, you should try it. If you write out every single day, I'm in the process of creating a six-figure retreat that will launch in October, right? My brain is immediately like, what am I going to do? It starts spitting out things that I should be doing, could be doing, want to do, that I'm start thinking about, right? And you will figure out who you need to be to make it happen. And the other reminder that I tell everyone is this isn't about perfection. It's not about you setting a goal and making it happen. And if it doesn't happen, it's like you're the worst and this is never going to happen for you. It's like, no, no, no. This is a continual process, right? Just because you have a goal and you miss the goal doesn't mean you're not going to figure it out because you cannot miss your life's vision. You can't. You can't not hit the version of you that you want to become. You can set little goals along the way and sure, whoopsies, didn't miss the weight by then, or I didn't earn the income by then. It just means that you have to adjust what you're doing. Maybe you adjust your actions, maybe you adjust your thoughts, but whatever it is, those are just like little mile markers. You can miss a goal and you cannot miss your vision. And remembering that is what will keep you on track, right? For the big things. Because the goals, I say the small goals of like losing the weight or earning the income, they're just pieces. They're pieces of who you are and who you're becoming and who you're stepping into. But you really getting clear on where you're going reminds you of what you can do today and what you can do tomorrow. And my best suggestion for you as you are figuring out, like, okay, maybe you haven't thought about this at all. This is the first time you're sitting down, share it with somebody. Maybe it's me, maybe it's a husband or a friend or a sister or a wife or somebody, right? But I challenge you to share it with somebody because it gets you a little scared. And that scared, that feeling is actually the same feeling that your body gets when you're excited. It's actually the same signal that your brain gives. So if you're anxious about something, if you're afraid to share that with somebody, that's not a fear that's going to ruin your life, right? It's a little push and probably a nudge that's saying you really want something. If you're really nervous to share it with somebody, you probably really want it, right? Which is even more reason to get really clear on what you want and who you're becoming and where you're going with it. And I hope this was helpful. I know it's a little bit long. I was trying to keep it at 45 minutes and we're coming in on an hour. But I hope this was helpful for you if you're watching it back. And I'll be here to answer questions if you guys have. I'm here if you guys would love to share or see your vision, your goals for this year. If you're in one of my client groups, be prepared. A prompt is coming for you to share it with the group. But other than that, I will see you guys in our group. And I hope you have an amazing 2025. Have a good night or a good day if you're watching this back. Bye, guys.